Hey everyone, this is Pastor Joe, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit of encouragement from my own devotional reading this morning. My D group is reading through Genesis, and I was reading Genesis chapter 44, and I was reading the story of how Joseph tests his brothers to see where their heart is, how he hides the cup in Benjamin's bag, and his brothers come back, and he says, "Why have you stolen from me?" And Judah falls down in verse 16 and he says, What can we say? He says, God has found out our guilt. And it's interesting because the truth is they're not guilty in this moment. But yet Judah knows that they're guilty because they're still carrying the guilt of what they did to Joseph himself. And yet the rest of the chapter shows us this picture of Judah who is willing to lay down his own life, sacrifice himself for the sake of his father and for the sake of his younger brother Benjamin. And it's such a marked turn from the Judah that we see earlier in Genesis 37, who is willing to deceive his father and to take the life of his brother Joseph. It's such a marked turn from Genesis 39 when we see a Judah who is willing to go into a cult prostitute and chooses the wrong friends and is living a life that is not honoring to the Lord. In fact, Scripture says that he turned aside from his brothers at that moment of life. And here's what it reminded me. It reminded me that our stories are never single chapter stories. The story of Judah didn't end in Genesis 37. The story of Judah didn't end in Genesis 39. The story of Judah also doesn't end in Genesis 44. The truth is that from Judah comes not only David, but Jesus. And so Judah's story is a story of brokenness. It's a story of deceit. It's a story of sin, but it's also a story of redemption. And it's a story that reminds us that we need to be careful and make sure that we never put an ending where God has merely just put a page turn. That we need to not write the end of our story or our family or our friends or our spouse's story based on a single chapter. So I don't know where you are today. I don't know what has been going on in this current chapter of your life, but my encouragement to you is that your story isn't over. And God can still write redemption and restoration and hope and a legacy in your story that impacts generations to come. So I hope